the first verse is kind of funny to me. In my translation anyways, it says, whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. God does not, he gets right to the chase. If you have someone who speaks into your life and you get offended by what they say, even, especially if they're Christian and they're saying something that can help you in the long run, then, be wise. Just accept that and learn from it, grow. I've been there. I've been told some things that hurt in the moment, but man, I needed to hear it, and I grew and I learned from it. This next verse, I really liked how the Enduring Word commentary put it. It says, a good man obtains favor from the Lord, and it was talking about, especially under the old covenant, where the promises of blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience was true. It's no longer like that because we have Jesus who died for us, and we just have to pray and ask for forgiveness now. But I especially like the second part, a man of wicked intentions he will condemn. So it says, for that God sees the heart and he sees the wicked intentions before they result in action, even if they never result in action. And that makes me think, if you have an ill intention in your heart, God sees it. So even if you had a bad intention and you never acted it out, which was good, God still saw that intention. He knows. So, it blows my mind. It's so crazy that God, he's all knowing. He knows our intentions, even if if no one else does, if no one else has seen the action of our intentions, God knows. And that alone causes me to want to have good intentions at all time. Of course I hurt people sometimes unintentionally, or I do things that I am human. We're all human, but think about your preconceived ideas that have planned out intentions. God knows of those. A man is not established by wickedness, but the root of righteousness cannot be moved. So if you're rooted in righteousness, and God talks about being rooted in him and having a foundation in him several times throughout the Bible, have a foundation on God. And if you're watching this video, then good for you. You're building that foundation in God. You're putting those roots in, You're developing something that cannot be moved. And cannot be moved, that can be something that, even if you are in a bad situation, think about 2020 and everything that people have gone through, whether, I know it's been to various degrees for different people, but if you have that solid foundation, those roots in the Lord, no matter what comes in your life, you will not be moved from it, no matter the circumstance. Verse 4 is talking about a wife. So being an excellent wife is the crown of her husband. Verses 5 through 8 is again talking about wicked versus righteousness, which we've touched upon several times throughout this study. But again, and anything that is repeated in the Bible, definitely take note of that. The next one is really interesting. Better is the one who is slighted but has a servant than he who honors himself but lacks bread. And slighted, the word slighted means like made fun of, I guess, or something was said to them that wasn't the nicest thing to hear. Than he who honors himself but has bread. And that kind of makes me think of pride and humility. If you are someone who has things, right? If you are in a good position, but people say things to you that can be hurtful, maybe made fun of or insulted, you're better off than the person who honors themselves, has that pride, but they lack the things to even take care of themselves. Verses 10 through 17 is again taking a look at righteousness versus wickedness. And it talks about it in different ways. For example, it's talking about someone who works hard would be satisfied with the things that, the fruit of their labor. And I'm referring to verse 11 here. But he who follows frivolity is devoid of understanding, which means, something frivolity. I automatically think of social media. It could be frivolous, right? He who follows that doesn't really understand, doesn't have that knowledge. In particular, I really like the verse 16, a fool's wrath is known as at once, but a prudent man covers shame. And, sometimes if somebody hurts you, you can easily go ahead and tell someone else and share that with people, how they hurt you. And no one would even think twice about what you're saying, essentially gossiping. But someone who is wise can get hurt and not say a word about it. You can be hurt and not have to spread that about someone else. And, you can keep that to yourself, as difficult as it may be, because it took me a long time to get to that point. But it is possible. 18 through 24 is talking about our mouth again. And it's talking about us, discerning and being wise with our mouth, especially when it comes to lying and being honest. Verse 25, I think it's really relevant to today. Anxiety in the heart of a man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. And anxiety and depression are very real. It's very prevalent. And I appreciate that it's now, it used to be taboo to kind of talk about it in the past. Now it's not. And, I feel like if you are suffering with anxiety and depression, you can turn to the Word of God. You can turn to God, and He can help you through that. There's nothing wrong with medication for that. I'm definitely an advocate for that as well. But we don't forget that we also, we have the ultimate healer. We have God. And the Word says here, a good word makes it glad. Sometimes you can be that good word to someone else. If someone else is having a bad day, I've had a bad day in the past, and I'm just, at work, just in my head, thinking about what's going on at home or whatever that I'm stressing over. And someone would just say something nice to me, that good word, and it will just make me feel better. So you never know. You could be that kind, good word in someone's life. Verse 26, the righteous should choose his friends carefully, for the way of the wicked leads them astray. Now, I don't think that there's anything wrong with being friends with someone who is not a Christian, but be careful with who you surround yourself with and who you are in constant contact with. Are you constantly in contact with people who are not believers and won't support you in your faith, or do you have a constant and a close relationship with people who are? It's really important to have people in your life who believe in God and to develop those relationships. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with being friends with non-believers as well. It's just, who are you spending most of your time with? And if you're thinking, I don't have any Christian friends, then go to church. It's a great place to meet Christian friends. Although it can be hard with, a pandemic, but hopefully everything goes back to normal really soon. I did look it up in the Enduring Word. It says, the lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, which means, using a somewhat humorous illustration, Solomon showed that the lazy man does not finish the job. He went to all the trouble of hunting and capturing the prey, but will never enjoy the fruit of his work because he is too lazy to do it. And then diligence is a man's precious possession. There are many precious things a man and woman can have, but diligence is near the top of the list. Many great things are accomplished with little talent, but great diligence. Immediately that makes me think of, so I started running very recently, just, within the past 6 weeks, maybe. Prior to that, I could barely run 10 seconds, 15 seconds without absolutely falling on the floor. And I mean jog, not run. But I downloaded the Couch to 5K app. And when I first started, I honestly didn't like it. I'm not a runner. I don't like exercise that much. I like walking, but running and jogging, no. But I was diligent. I thought to myself, I don't want to be like this. I want to change. I want to enjoy running and jogging or whatever. And I was diligent. It says, diligence is a man's precious possession. Now I can run about 30 minutes nonstop, working my way up to about 45 minutes nonstop. And I cannot even believe that I just said that, but it's true. And I worked my way up, because I was diligent. I didn't want to always run. I didn't always want to practice and be diligent in that way, but I was, and I saw the results of that. So I think diligence is important. Do not confuse that for motivation, because there's going to be times where you're not motivated, but if you're diligent, it doesn't matter. I think diligence is greater than motivation. Motivation is not always there. And then with the last verse, Proverbs 28, in the way of the righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. So we've talked about that so many times. Righteousness goes hand in hand with wisdom. So that is it. That's all I have for today. This was really interesting, but again, I'd probably say that every video. If you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe. Normally I post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but for the month of January 2021, I'm posting every single day at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I can't wait to study the Bible with you again. Bye.